Is Sister Wives returning in 2025? Or is season 20 already doomed before cameras even begin rolling? Whispers of contract negotiations, Robyn's complete breakdown, and Christine secretly filming in Utah have exploded on Facebook groups and Reddit forums. That's merely the iceberg's tip, though. Insiders claim Kody may have been completely cut from the cast as TLC desperately works behind the scenes to rescue the franchise. Are the OG wives about to reclaim the spotlight forever? Or is season 20 a mere smokescreen for something exponentially bigger? Stay tuned, because what we uncovered is going to blow this saga wide open, and leaked footage is involved. It was supposed to be routine, just another usual quiet morning in Flagstaff. Cameras softly whirring in the distance, a standard B-roll shoot for future filler. Robyn Brown was curled up in her favorite leather sectional, cradling a mug of herbal tea in the manner she always used when attempting to appear calm and centered. Her expression was tranquil, almost serene. The peacemaker on television, the one who'd survived the chaos. But the microphone attached to her sweater wasn't aware of acting versus reality. And this time, Robyn lost track of where the show ended and reality began. Her voice lowered on the phone, loose, confident. She was talking to her sister Kendra, not as a woman mourning a broken family, but as a person assessing the damage from afar. "Kody's still milking the money issues," she said with a snort, stirring her tea. "Please, he approved the reorg." A beat passed, a soft laugh, little more than a breath. "And Janelle still thinks she has some claim to Coyote Pass. It's pathetic." Her voice was dry, detached, unemotional, and unconflicted. Just done. The producer, just off camera, froze. So did the audio technician. What they were seeing wasn't annoyance. It was exposure, the kind of moment no PR damage control could undo. Robyn's mask didn't slip. It crashed. A beat later, with the same saccharine venom, she went on, "God bless them. They can't take care of their marriages, their kids, or their bank accounts." Then silent, not quiet, charged. The air backstage hummed with tension. Crew members glanced at one another in stunned amazement. They had just captured something shocking, raw, real. Now the question dangled like a burning fuse. Should TLC quietly put it on the back burner, or blow it all wide open? At TLC headquarters, the footage landed in the editing room like a shockwave. Within minutes, it was flagged. Not for inappropriate content, but for the consequence. Producers gathered in a closed-door room, eyes glued to the screen, headphones on. They watched Robyn swirl her tea, mock Janelle as pathetic, laugh off Meri's pain. It was the kind of footage networks never hope for. Unapologetically real, brutally honest, and impossible to retract. The debate wasn't whether or not it was real. That was obvious. The debate was whether airing it would destroy the franchise or save it. One executive, voice tight with terror, asked the question out loud: "If we air this, we're complicit. But if we bury it, are we lying to the rest of the world or saving her?" Another producer, calm and calculating, leaned in. "This isn't footage, it's reckoning. People are starving for the truth. We've been dancing around it for years." That night, the file was locked on a private drive, or so they thought. But one junior editor, underpaid, overworked, and sleep-deprived, couldn't let it go. Her conscience won out. She copied a clipped audio file onto a burner USB, handed it over to a gossip blog she'd faithfully read, and forgot about it. By sunrise, it was everywhere. Robyn exposed the Sister Wives scandal, scorched the internet. Clips saturated YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter. TikTok analyzed it, frame by frame. The internet didn't require TLC's ruling. Verdict was instantaneous. Views exploded, subreddits flared to life, and behind closed boardroom doors, TLC's silence just fueled the fallout. The truth was out, not because the network allowed it, but because someone decided the world needed to hear it. Janelle sat on the edge of her rented bed, phone in hand. The video paused mid-sentence. She hadn't even made it halfway through the leak when she heard her name, pitiful, entitled, a punchline. She pressed play again, hoping it could be different this time. It wasn't. Robyn's disdain echoed through the stillness of her home. The cup in Janelle's hand trembled momentarily before she set it down. She didn't cry. She just stared ahead, her breath unsteady, like someone had finally confirmed the fire she'd chased for years never came from a flame. Nothing but smoke. And a few hundred miles away, in a Utah hotel room, Meri was still laughing. It was the kind of aching, dry, shell-shocked laughter that turns sinister when it is a tick that won't release. For years, Meri had reassured herself that Robyn was lost, possibly hurt, possibly misguided, but not cruel. And here it was, proof plain as day. The woman she had once called a sister, laughing at her, mocking her. For the hurt Meri gulped down daily was only another scene Robyn could rewrite. Meri's phone dropped out of her hands. She didn't go to the trouble of reaching for it. The sob came fast, raw, jagged, abrupt, like it had been down in her throat all these years, waiting to escape. And then there was another. There was one tweet late that evening on Instagram. A wolf in sheep's clothing is still a wolf, even if she is crying as she's destroying you. All fans who had seen these women bend, break, and keep their mouths shut for over a decade saw the veil lift. This wasn't every day's catfight. This was betrayal, the kind that happens when women stay too long, think too hard, and finally admit they were never in the wrong about her. They just didn't want to admit they were wrong. Kody glared at the secret tape, his hands in fists, his eyes vacant, a man more devoted to holding on to a lie than facing the truth before his eyes. "She didn't mean it like that," he growled, his jaw set. "Twisting this, it was a lie." No one in the room had said that they agreed. The atmosphere within their former warm home had changed, become denser. The walls that previously resonated with laughter hummed with tension. Even the comforting aroma of herbal tea no longer was comforting. It was like control. He quit sleeping in the bedroom, told her he was giving her space. But space was not what Robyn required. She required a mirror. And for the very first time in history, Kody couldn't help but hear himself in her words. He'd once declared her to be his rock, the quiet calm in the eye of the hurricane. But now he was backing off, silent, as she spat venom into a hot mic that she had no idea was still live. Aurora noticed. She'd always defended her mother, always stood up for the family narrative. But now, the silence hurt more than the noise. "Mom," she whispered, "why did you say that? Do you mean the things you say when they're rolling?" There was no reply from the other side of the room. Dayton didn't require any to be made. Arms folded, expressionless face, squinting eyes, not with anger, but with resignation. The home that they had once called their own was a cemetery of deceit. It wasn't just cold, it was broken. And for the first time, even Robyn's kids were starting to see cracks in their mother's perfectly worn tiara. The studio was devoid of all shine. No plush sofas, no warm lighting, bare walls, empty room, and silence that was palpable enough to smother. The women didn't show up as reality TV personalities this time. They came as survivors of a story they'd never been allowed to write. Christine's high heels clicked loudly as she came into frame, her red shirt blazing against the dull set. Her smile wasn't for the camera, it was for herself. The self-conscious smirk of a woman who'd finally stopped apologizing. Meri and Janelle were set, faces unreadable, but their eyes met with Christine's as if they'd all been waiting for this moment. The air didn't vibrate. It shook with years of unspoken truths, ready to blow. When the moderator questioned whether or not Christine had planned to attend, her response boomed like thunder. "No." Then I saw the Robyn video. Silence followed. Not tense, sacred. Christine's voice was still even, but her hands trembled in her lap. "I was always taught I was the problem. Too sensitive, too independent, too scared to follow orders. But I wasn't the one who smiled on camera while stabbing my family in the back." She gazed at the women next to her. "We went out of our way to be even-handed. But even-handedness went to die the day that Kody packed up and left Robyn's house and never came back." The room breathed a collective breath. Meri wept without remorse and wiped her face clean. Janelle nodded slowly, her jaw clenched hard. Then Christine spoke, her knife-edged voice cold. Robyn did not break down. She cried to control. She armed herself with tears, and we let her. This wasn't a grand explosion. It was surgical, exact. Reality slicing through a decade of rehearsed lie. For the first time in over 10 years, they did not need editors, no producers. Their pain was the storyline, and this time they were holding the pen. It began with a dim TikTok, just Brianna's eyes under the hood of a sweatshirt. No music, no dance, just a caption. The truth. Her voice was shaky at first, but the words were unmistakable. Then a voice memo played. Robyn's voice, cold, calculated. "If TLC makes me look bad, I'll cry again. It works. They won't betray me." In a span of minutes, the internet lost its mind. Aurora then materialized, sitting cross-legged on the couch platform. Her eyes locked straight into the camera. "I cannot pretend any longer," Aurora said, her voice subdued. "My mom, she is not the same person when the cameras are not filming. She would tell us things about Christine being fake, about Meri not being loyal, and we trusted her. We were kids." A pause, a breath. "Now I know better." What shocked audiences was not just what the girls said, it was how they said it. No drama, no creative editing, unvarnished truth from daughters who'd unwittingly been turned into pawns in a conflict they didn't even understand. Brianna brought out an old diary from their move to Flagstaff. WhatsApp. In childlike handwriting, Mom says Christine is jealous, but Christine always smiled at us. I don't get it. That single sentence shattered millions of assumptions. They were not striking out to hurt their mother. They were reclaiming what she had taken. Their clarity, their agency, their voice. This was not betrayal. This was a breach that stretched generations. Robyn had not only betrayed the other wives, she had broken something far more basic, the bond with her own daughter. And then, the silence she had once depended on was now the loudest and most condemning piece of evidence against her. When Robyn stood in court, she was draped in gray, no glam, no stylist, trembling but unafraid. There were no cameras this time, but the world was still watching. She was suing TLC for $3.5 million for defamation, emotional distress, and breach of contract. She painted herself as the scapegoat, misunderstood, misrepresented by sneaky editors and vengeful ex-wives. But the courtroom had no sympathy to give. It had destruction to give. TLC's attorneys didn't merely argue their case. They obliterated it. They produced internal email, archived memos, and signed release forms Robyn evidently hadn't remembered. An email showed her requesting reshoots of her confessionals in order to make Janelle seem more jealous. One demanded that any dramatic scenes with Christine's children never make it to air. Next was a note from Season 17 production. Robyn had asked to always be shot with a cup of tea in her hand amidst family drama, to enhance her image as the peaceful peacekeeper. It was damning, not only manipulative but scripted, a puppet master hiding behind softly spoken tears. Next came the query from the judge. If this is defamation, why are your own daughters contradicting you? Robyn's facade crumbled. She stammered something about manipulation, insisted Christine had turned them against her. The judge cut in. They're adults. They made their own choice. Kody sat behind her, face in his hands. It was done. Outside fans snapped a photo of Janelle, Christine, and Meri walking together, smiling, not smug, but at peace, like justice had finally caught up. That night, Christine shared a photo on her Instagram, Robyn's memoir on her bookshelf, a neon sticky note on the cover in Janelle's handwriting. A single word: fiction. Robyn lost in court, but what she lost in the public eye was far worse. The illusion of innocence she'd spent years trying to preserve. 6 months after the courtroom breakdown, Robyn re-emerged. No crew, no gloss, just her. She began a YouTube channel titled Living in Love, Robyn Brown, and My Path to Truth. The TLC filters and makeup artists were nowhere to be found. In their place, soft pastels, trembly hands, and a haunted look. Her first video, They All Left Me, a 12-minute snot mix of sobs, vague Bible allusions, and muted rage, masquerading as introspection. But the internet wasn't having it. Manipulation turned in one. You aren't sorry. You're just sorry you got caught. Yet she persisted. 2 days later, the fatal blunder. She intended to post a soft vlog, some behind-the-scenes fluff. Instead, she inadvertently uploaded 45 minutes of raw, uncut footage. No filters, no edits, just voicemails, voice memos, and screen recording. The internet captured it all before she could delete it. There was one voicemail to Kody that really jumped out. You promised to protect me. You let them destroy me. You owe me everything. Another one whispered like a dark confession. If the crying doesn't work, maybe I fake a breakdown. Something big, something that brings them back. Her voice wasn't sad. It wasn't broken. It was cold, calculating, robotic. Then the mask didn't just crack. It completely shattered. Even her most stalwart defenders couldn't reconcile the weeping woman on YouTube with the one plotting manipulation in private voice messages. Overnight, the last shred of sympathy vanished. Robyn's fall wasn't orchestrated by TLC. It wasn't created by Christine, Janelle, or Meri. It was her own voice, raw and undeniable, that finally made it all come tumbling down. And from those ashes, something new arose. Sister Strong, TLC's most ambitious rebrand to date, wasn't a spin-off of Sister Wives. It was a complete declaration. No Kody, no Robyn, no manipulation. Just Christine, Meri, and Janelle. Unfiltered, unencumbered, and reunited. The promo teaser was short. Just golden hour light, wind-blown hair, and 3 women in step down a broad stretch of desert. But the message? It rolled like thunder. This wasn't survival. It was reclaiming. Christine at the front, not as the wife once fighting for crumbs of love, but as a mother, a mentor, and a voice for women breaking free from poisonous spiritual entanglements. Her own life was simpler now, less as show, more genuine. Janelle exposed her financial rebuilding, telling without apology how close she had come to losing it all fighting to save her children's dignity. And Meri, the one who long had been the ghost, lingers on the edges of the show, rose to quiet, steadfast power. She was no longer waiting to be chosen. She was choosing herself. Fans flooded forums and comment sections. I've never cried this much during a premiere. This is what healing actually looks like. The defining moment? A silent toast. 3 wine glasses raised to the golden desert sunshine. Christine. To truth. Janelle. To peace. And Meri with a salt, knowing smile. To finally being whole. No one named Robyn. Not that they had to. Her absence was the story. TLC had said its piece. The franchise had a new beat, a new rhythm. And it pulsed with power, solidarity, and integrity. Finally, the story was not about who was left behind, but who chose to rise. It began as a whisper, a murky leak, a fuzzy teaser trailer, a rumor that was too wild to be true. But when the trailer hit, speculation flew out the window. 2 figures stood against the Utah backdrop, bathed in golden amber twilight. The screen flashed, breaking the pattern, and below, in large letters, Aurora and Brianna Brown. For years they were visible only through their mother's eyes, silent, obedient, cut into submission. But today, Sister Wives' most polarizing Star's daughters weren't merely chattering. She was calling the shots. TLC handed them a microphone. And what they created wasn't a made-for-TV movie melodrama. It was explosive, unfettered, and absolutely intoxicating. This was not a numbers game. It was their coming-of-age moment. In the pilot, Brianna reads from a teenage journal entry. Mom said Christine was dangerous, that she smiled too much, that it was insincere, but it wasn't pretending when she hugged me. Aurora, shaking visibly, explained how they were constantly told to shut up, be loyal, and stay little. We were children, used like weapons. And we didn't even realize it. However, breaking the pattern wasn't a takedown. It was a rebuild. Every episode stripped away another layer of generational silence, misplaced loyalty, and the messy wounds between mothers and daughters. And every discovery landed hard, not because it was sensational, but because it was real. Finally, someone from within the fortress was telling the truth. Robyn didn't appear in the credits, not even in the background. This was their show, their legacy, their math. The adults have kept control for years. Now the daughters were dismantling it. And in doing so, they weren't heading in on just a chapter. They were redefining the entire book. Season 20 isn't about who's returning. It's about who's finally breaking free. And if half of what's swirling around in rumor is accurate, the next installment of Sister Wives might be the most explosive to date. So tell me, do you think Robyn is finished for good? Or is TLC throwing one final lifeline to her? Undefined. Leave us your comments. Smile and give that like button a smash if this left you shaken just as it shook us. And remember to subscribe for your weekly dose of raw, uncut reality. I'm Anya, and this is Reality Recap, where the drama isn't merely viewed, it's broken down.